Thank you, Lynn. Are there any announcements that need to be made?
If anybody would feel led to be a worship leader next Sunday, we still have an opening. Sylvia and Dan are going to be on the will have just arrived in Belize, and they don't know what their Wi-Fi situation might be. So we still have an opening. Um, Being Quakers, of course, we can do unprogrammed worship, but if someone feels led, you might let me know so I can get it in the newsletter before I send it out this week.
I'll give it a whirl.
Great. Thanks, Megan.
How about joys and concerns to share?
Some of you know Alberta Shaw. She is the mother of our former daughter in law, Cindy. Alberta is in the hospital in Mooresville in intensive care with influenza type A. She's not in the best of health to begin with, and so many of us are concerned about how she's doing. So if you would keep Alberta in your prayers this morning, I and the rest of the family would appreciate it.
Next week and the week after, I'll be in Guatemala at the Guatemala Friends Scholarship Teaching English program. We're going to have, oh geez, almost 40 teachers down there helping out. And so anyway, I'd appreciate your concerns, but it is a great joy to go down there and be with our students. We have 120 this year we're putting through university.
I'd just like to raise up my nephew's birthdays today. He passed away 4 or 5 years ago. I guess I just wanted to say it out loud. I really miss him.
I guess I had both a joy and a concern this past week, or with not a concern, sorrow. Um, the joy was, of course, the first Christmas with Donna, and then being here and going to my sister's on Christmas Day with her daughters, and it was a great celebration. But it was also the first Christmas in 35 years without my stepkids, who are all in Indiana. And so that I felt that uh, change acutely. Well, let's hold these prayer concerns in our hearts and lift them to God in prayer. And remember those who are traveling at this time and in the weeks to come for safe travels. Chip's the worship leader today, and he will speak out of the silence.
Good morning, friends. Thank you, Lynn. I must apologize. When I ran this by Troy yesterday, he said, this sounds more like what was it he said? A fireside chat than a message. The scripture for today comes from Colossians 3:15. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body, we're called to peace, and be thankful. Well, Christmas is over, and in a few days it will be 2026. I will spend the evening with my cats watching Andrew and Andy waiting for the ball to drop. It's time to make New Year's resolutions. And let's not forget what Christmas is all about. Did we put Christ back into Christmas? Well, to paraphrase Stephen Sondheim, a funny thing happened on the way to Christmas, or searching for peace in chaos. That is my message for today. And to quote my mother, who always said, if you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans, and nothing is ever simple around here. As you might have already guessed, there would be some lighthearted moments in my message today. I always like doing my message at the end of the month, as I have a whole month to think about what to talk about that friends will want to talk about after we go our separate ways. Let's go back to the start of December. I got a call from Troy to come to his house to see something he had found by using this. It has something to do with virtual reality. You put the headset on and you're able to walk into rooms and look around, rooms that aren't really there. You play games with it and you can talk to people that are online with you. Now, this was a gift from Troy. He got both of us one several Christmases ago. Of course, I'm working on a part called Hooray for Hollywood. I am building a movie studio with rides that take you around and you can see the movie studio, look at the back lot and film sets, and of course, I have an Elizabeth Taylor museum. But enough of that. I just put the headset on and I can work on my park or go visit other parks. Now you can also put on and go to a movie theater and watch full-length movies, just like you're in really in a movie theater. And if someone else has a headset, you can watch the movie together. Although I don't really like people to talk to me while I'm watching a movie. I walked up the hill to Troy's house, which is next door to my house, to see what he had found. I put my headset on and found I was taking a tour of Venice. Now, it wasn't like seeing a travel film. It was like you were really there. Every place you looked was Venice, 360 degrees, up and down. It was like I was really there. Never have I seen anything like it. You could watch as the clouds moved in the sky and the leaves blew, and everything was in great detail. When I was walking back home, I looked up the sky and the clouds, and then I looked at the trees and their leaves and the birds eating at the bird feeder. And then it came to me, one of my New Year's resolutions would be that I need to live more in the moment and look around. And not just glance at the sky, trees, and flowers, but really look closely and enjoy every second. Here's a quote from Brian Cox. Be a child. Pay attention to small things. Don't be led by prejudice. Take nobody's word for anything. Observe and think. Ask simple questions. Seek simple answers. Now, before I go any further in my Christmas story, I want to share something. I get a lot of interesting things on my news feed. They show up on my Facebook page. They really just show up. And I thought, with the year ending, I would share some of these with you. What is really strange is that I will be talking to Troy about something, and the next day it shows up on my computer. Talk about Big Brother. I have to laugh as most of them really hit home and apply to me. To start off with my Christmas story, I have to go back to last December. In film terms, that's a flashback. Troy and I were at Menards, and I was there to buy critter and bird food. Troy was just looking around. When I had loaded up my cart and headed for the checkout, I saw Troy and an employee taking apart a really big Christmas tree. Troy was all excited and said it was 75% off. It was a display tree. We went home and he packed it away. Now back to this December. The first thing Troy did was try to put up his new tree. I say try because it was too tall for his living room. Now, Troy has several trees, so he put up another big tree in his living room and a smaller IU tree in another area of the house. He only used 2 of the 3 parts of the big tree, and so it went in his bedroom. I did not put up a tree this year. My cat Martha climbs and goes where no other cat has gone before, and the other cats are learning her bad habits. A news feed about cats. I get a lot of these. Of course you can come home with me. My human is single. Every cat is welcome. If a feral cat chooses you, consider it to be one of life's greatest blessings. Well, all my cats are feral. They just show up and I let them in, and I'm now feeding a new one. The family was busy shopping. I had 2 friends at our houses. One was working on the house itself, and one was cleaning for Troy and helping me go through things. And boy, have I got a lot of things to go through. Drake took his driving test and got his license, and I still have anxiety medicine left. Troy and I thought it would be a good idea to get into the Christmas spirit and watch our favorite films. So we took turns watching our favorite Christmas films. Mine are The Holly and the Ivy, 1953, A Christmas Carol, 1938, Miracle on 34th Street, 1947, and We're No Angels, 1955. A little side trivia. The kid that played Tiny Tim in A Christmas Carol is still alive, and he's 100 years old. Gene Lockhart is in both The Christmas Carol and Miracle on 34th Street. Right. That's June Lockhart's father. And June Lockhart was also in The Christmas Carol. Yeah. Another news feed. Christmas isn't too far away. Instead of worrying what's under the tree, be grateful for who's around it. Troy thought it would be a good idea to bring his stepfather down for the weekend before Christmas. There was lots of planning. Jack, the stepfather, lives in North Webster, and that's a 2.5-hour drive from here. We got finished on Troy's house, and we went to get Jack. We drove north and had breakfast with Jack and other family members, and then we headed back home. Troy had it all planned out, as Brandon was off for the weekend and Drake was on winter break. Jack loves playing pool and was looking forward to playing with the kids. Now's the part where God laughs. Friday and Saturday, Drake had band practice from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Brandon came over Friday to play pool, but Jack was too tired. Another news feed. I've got 525,600 problems, and none of them are from watching too many musicals. And I think this world would be a much happier if everyone broke out in song and danced every once in a while. Friday night, Troy fixed a special dinner for Jack. Some of his favorite things. Too much going on, and he messed up the mashed potatoes. Too much milk. Okay, when we start talking about Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner, I only think about two things: Keisha's green bean casserole and Troy's mashed potatoes. Now, Thanksgiving, Keisha tried a different onions, and the casserole just wasn't up to par. And I told Troy he had better do a better job with the mashed potatoes when we have Christmas dinner. Now back to Jack. When we finished eating, Jack looked at Troy and said he would have rather had a pizza. I told Troy how sorry I was that it was such a mess. And I kept saying, "Oh, I'm just so sorry, just things aren't working out." And of course, he just took it with stride, like, move on. It happened, and I'm not upset. You're more upset than I am. Now, Jack lives in a nice assisted living facility, but he doesn't like some of the food. He kept telling us how he really wanted a nice plate of spaghetti. So Saturday night, we went to Olive Garden so Jack could have spaghetti. When we got there, Jack asked if they had potato soup. They did, and that's what he got. And I heard God laugh again. Well, you just never know. Drake drove Jack back on Sunday morning, and Troy went with them, and all went well. Brandon and Keisha were back to work. Drake had those long band practices, and are you ready for this? He got his truck keys taken away because he was caught eating in his room. So I'm back to Uber duty. Christmas Eve, Troy and I enjoyed two more Christmas films that I had never seen: Elf and Spirited, I'm sorry. Christmas Day came and Troy and Keisha started cooking. I remember telling you about my mother putting her dirty pans in the trunk of the car before Thanksgiving because she didn't want people to see their dirty pans and she was running late. Well, Troy followed in her footsteps. He put his dirty dishes in the oven. So on Christmas morning, when he started cooking, he turned on the oven and realized he was cooking his dishes. This is from Eleanor Roosevelt. Learn from the mistakes of others. You can't live long enough to make them all yourself. But with all the craziness, Christmas Day was wonderful. We had a great meal and opened lots of presents, and both of my favorite dishes were wonderful. It's not how much, oh, this is from Mother Theresa. It's not how much we give, but how much we love we put into giving. We sat around talking, and Troy said that next year Drake would be home from college for break. It suddenly hit me that the little kid that I have driven to preschool through high school was going to be gone. No more taking him to practices, no more movie nights, no more football games to go to and watch the marching band. Now, this sounds really funny, but this week I had a dream and was planning my message, and I had a bunch of sunflower seeds on a table. I said, what does this mean? And a woman, could have been an angel, she looked a lot like Sylvia. Anyway, Angel Sylvia said, you have planted the seeds. Now you have to sit back and watch him grow. So that is what I'm going to do. Sit back and watch my favorite grandson turn into a man. Now, I'm not a big fan of winter. The only time I want to see snow is when I'm watching Dr. Zhivago or White Christmas. I'm looking forward to the first day of spring so I can start planting my gardens. Another news feed. Winter is not the death of your garden. It is a reset. The quiet work, the backstage crew getting everything ready for your springtime performance. As we go into the new year, my goal is to have my house cleaned out of all the clutter, live in the moment, and try to remain center. Maybe put Christ back into Christians, not only Christ at Christmas. I watched the news this morning. Lots of bad stuff happened last year. I hope it's not going to be like this for next year. I would like to end this message with a Buddhist prayer. May the broken be healed. May the sick be restored. May happiness return to those in despair. May the lonely ones be loved. May the hungry be fed, and may our world be at peace.
One of my strongest memories of Christmas is the Christmas Eve that I discovered that Santa Claus was getting an awful lot of help from my parents. And after talking this over with my good friend Robert Scomp, who lived across the road, we both decided it was a good idea to keep that quiet and not worry about it, because we had a good thing going. As a husband, a father, a grandfather, and now a great-grandfather, one of the greatest blessings are the mysteries that happen almost every day that you don't know about. And I think to me that has been a good lesson that I have learned over the years. Enjoy the unexpected.
Thank you, Chip and Lynn, for your ministry offerings this morning. We'll now continue with more on program worship for those who can stay. And for those who can't, we pray a blessed week for you and hope to see you next week.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you both.
if friends' hearts are clear, we can close meeting for worship.
Donna, be sure and thank Ron for sharing with us.
Everybody have a happy new year.
Yes, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
Take care.
Okay.